Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I learned something during the Christmas vacation. I now know what happens when you play country music songs backwards. You get your job back, your wife back, your truck back, and your dog back. All is well. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot to start off the new year with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, good morning. Oh, my goodness, good morning on this third day of 2017. Good morning, I'm Zeb Bell, and of course, this is Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, service the key word there, and of course, some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. And now, without further ado, let's have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
Well, if our little elf that now you're not a little elf anymore, you changed your clothes.
I did, and Doug was going to do the pledge this morning, but he had a customer, and I felt like I should help him out with
Well, you are such a Boy Scout. All right, my friend, go ahead and give us the pledge.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
By the way, Wheels, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
You're a good man.
I hope it's great.
You're a good man. Let's get to the weather forecast, and the weather brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for that blue door, all your carpet and flooring, kitchen construction. You promised yourself a gift. Well, maybe your promise was for a new remodeled kitchen. Boy, do they do a neat job on that. Whatever you need to make your house a home, they've got it all over there at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley with Kyle and Whitney and the crew, 678-6945. And right now, here's our weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we saddle up and ride again for the weekend. We are expecting snow showers off and on throughout the day. We are expecting 1 inch of snow throughout the daytime hours, but through this evening, anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of snow. We are expecting a little bit of wind as well out of the northeast, right around 10 miles an hour. Going to have a high of 28 for today, tonight low of 20. For tomorrow, more snow showers are expected within the forecast. Winds are going to be picking up to about 15 miles an hour. Accumulations 3 to 5 inches for tomorrow. Expecting a high of 21, overnight low of 4, and then partly cloudy and 10 degrees for Thursday. And that is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Whoa, that sounds awful cold. Good morning, and there's your weather brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Hey, by the way, don't forget, Thursday is sale day with our friends at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. You be sure and get a hold of them for consignment information. You call at 678-9411. Merv, May, Cade, Rogge, Lance, Udy, the sale that works for you. 10 o'clock on Thursdays, Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. You give them a call and find out more about the big sale coming up this week. I have quite a few messages to get out this morning, our first program of 2017, and I'm going to talk about that in just a moment, so bear with me. I do have some thank yous that absolutely have to be said this morning. First of all, as you know, there are some folks connected to this program that we try to help other families in need at Christmas time. And I want to spend a little time here in thanking Walmart for all they have done to support us in helping others. I just can't say enough about them, and the managers and the staff, all the people over there at Walmart. God bless you and thank you for all your help, for helping us provide Christmas to some other folks. We really appreciate it very, very much. And then, of all things, on New Year's Day, New Year's night on Sunday, my lovely bride went to do the dishes after a very, very delicious supper and turned on the spigot. No water, and we had no idea what was going on. I am not much of a old home fix-it person like old Tim the Tool Man Taylor from the TV show. It's best to just leave me away from a set of tools. I can create havoc and misery in 30 seconds. And so we called our dear friend Rocky down the road, and Rocky Matthews came up and said, I think it's this, but I'm not sure. Well, then we called our dear friends, the Baker Boys at Pump Service, and I got to tell you, they said they would be here the next morning yesterday at 8:30 in the morning. Wow. I mean, there was a knock on the... I'm sitting here in my office. There was a knock on the door at 8:30. I mean, they fixed the problem, bingo, bango, and we had water. And I just can't brag about them enough. Excellent service from Pump Service and the Baker Boys and their staff. Really, really appreciate them. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And also want to remind you about our friends at Darrow's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what, they absolutely, if you'll prepay when you go in there with your Rumply Crumplies, they will give you a 10% discount. So please, and don't forget they've got all kinds of things for you to think about with your jeans and your shirts and your dresses and your tablecloths. It's after Christmas. Don't put them away. Get them clean now at Darrow's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Also want to acknowledge the fact about SafeLink Internet. I'm telling you what, folks, 677-8000, the number to call. Fast, reliable, and they've got over 10,000 customers, and they want you to sign up today. Give them a call at 677. I'm going to cough and sneeze in a minute. It's a major distraction. 677-8000, SafeLink Internet serving you. You get a hold of them today. Almost inhaled that cough, and that would have put me back on my pockets. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Over the past few days, now I got to tell you what we did between Christmas and New Year's. It was disconcerting to some. And they called me, and they said, what are you doing? The weather forecast isn't going to be 80 degrees. Well, I had every hour, we had a disclaimer, and let people know we were running reruns of Zeb at the Ranch between Christmas and New Year's. It was almost impossible to line up national guests to come on the program. Excuse me. And so, therefore, we decided through our webmaster, John Ellis and Gina over at the station, that we would run some reruns. Well, I had some people call me and say, what's going on there? The temperature's not 81 degrees. Anyway, we apologize for anything as far as inconvenience is concerned, but it gave Deanne and I a little break and a little chance to see our kids and spend Christmas up in in Nampa with Jake and his family, and, of course, here with Toby and Nick and their family. And I just really appreciate everything that was done. So thank you very much. But we did have quite a few calls from area businesses. And they said, we're getting everything ready for 2017, and we'd like to advertise on your program. I will say this to anybody out there that wants to advertise, that we are accepting businesses for 2017, and the number to call, 312-2976. That number again, 312-2976 for the advertisements for your company. Give us a call. Also, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Happy New Year to my dear, dear friends. They've been with us ever since we saddled this horse about 20-some-odd years ago. And we appreciate it. And they've got all your furnace fillers. Now, we are looking at some doggone cold weather and more snow. I had plans for today of driving here, there, and everywhere to take care of a bunch of errands, but if it's going to be snowing like Gina said today and tomorrow, I'm going to think twice about that. Anyway, they've got all your furnace fillers, and keep that furnace running clean and efficiently. Stop over to Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459, providing, of course, warm winters and cool summers. You be sure and get a hold of them today. I would love to hear, I want to have my first caller of 2017. Man, I'm going to write your name down, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give the first caller on the program for this year to call in, I'm going to give him a Denny's restaurant gift card worth $10. I am. I'm just going to give it to him. All you have to do is give me a call at 436-2244. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. Oh, man, we had a great Christmas party over there. And, of course, the food with all the different pancake selections and the different luncheon selections. Oh, my goodness, the food is fantastic. And the service is extraordinary. I mean, you're just going to love these people. Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, 611 Overland in Burley. And another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Good at Denny's Restaurant. Well, now let's see who this first caller is. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
What's your name?
Zach Hansen.
Well, for heaven's sake, Zach, how are you? You just won a Denny's gift card worth $10, and I will mail it to you.
Oh, good deal.
What's going on over there at Mini-Cash Sales, my dear friend?
Not much. Just selling a bunch of carpet. Got some good carpet on sale right now, and metal roofs still selling.
Okay. And what are your hours over there at Mini-Cash Sales, old buddy?
8 o'clock to 4:35.
Okay. 4:35 exactly? Not 4:36, but 4:35, right?
4:30 to 5 o'clock.
Okay.
When I can get out of the store.
Okay. And you're right across from the airport, and you are the sponsor of Dr. History every day, Tuesdays, and that's going to be later on this morning. And I just want to take the time to thank you for your involvement.
Well, thank you for everything you've done for us, Zeb.
Well, I appreciate it, Zach, and I sure would hope that one of these days you... How's the leg coming, by the way? I understand you had a great big 800-pound roll of carpet hit you.
It's doing better. Don't have the leg brace on anymore, so getting
Okay.
around a little easier.
Well, I was going to challenge you to a foot race, a 40-foot foot race, not more than 40 foot. I'm only good for a fast start and a quick finish. But I was going to give you a chance to beat me in a foot race, but I think you're too healed up.
I'll put the leg brace back on. How's that?
Boy, would we be a pair of bookends. Tell you what. Anyway, Zach, is there anything else before I let you go?
That's everything, Zeb.
Well, God bless you, and how's my favorite Pledge of Allegiance person in your family? How's Abby?
She's doing good. She didn't want to get out of bed this morning to go to school, but they had to.
Well, God bless your whole family, and please call again. But you were the first one to call for 2017, so you got the gift card, buddy.
Hey, thank you very much.
Take care, my friend. Thank you. That's Zach over at Mini-Cash Sales, and they are super nice people. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb. Just called to wish you and Deanna a Happy New Year and to tell you I appreciate everything you do.
Well, you know, Linda, that goes like the saying right back at you, because wait a minute, before I say anything more, don't you have a birthday coming up?
I do, on Friday. Uh-huh.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
And
I celebrate every one of those that comes.
Well,
I'm grateful for them.
I am too, Linda, and I want to tell you how grateful I am to have friends like you that are really, really great listeners, and you attend all of our functions and everything. So this Friday, the skies will open up, and we'll have sunshine and blue sky and Linda Croft's birthday. God bless you for your call.
Thank you much. Take care.
All right, take care. That lady is such a wonderful lady and blessed. I mean, with a voice that absolutely is so beautiful. She is something else. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. 2017. I mean, come on. When it was way back 17 years ago and we said the number's 2000, oh my goodness, the sky is falling. But now here it's 2017, and I get to thinking about this program. And Deanna and I talked about this during the break for the last week. I actually started this program, a much smaller version, way back in 1995. So, 22 years ago. And I want to thank all the advertisers. I want to thank all the sponsors. And I want to thank you, the audience. Deanna and I have made the best of friendships through this program. God bless friendships. And now we're going into our year 23 for doing and producing this program. And we will do our best to present news and opinions in honest, straightforward manner. I absolutely demand excellence, and you'll get it on this program, I promise. Caller, thank you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too, by golly. Did you do anything wild and woolly to issue in 2017?
Well, I saw it come in with my eyelids closed.
I see. You know, though, Doug, I got to tell you, it's really a blessing that we live in 2 time zones away from the East Coast. And the reason I say that is I know that I can stay up till 10 o'clock, which is extreme for me. I can watch the ball drop in Times Square in New York, and I can feel like I did issue in the new year.
Well, I managed to stay up when Australia celebrates the New Year, then I'm about ready for bed.
Hey, by the way, I got to ask you something. Did you catch any of the New Year's festivities back in New York City that were on the network? Did you see anything of that?
No, sir, I didn't.
You missed the meltdown of Mariah Carey?
I did see a little clip of that, yeah.
Mariah Carey...
How much did she get paid?
I don't know, have any idea how much she got paid, but I watched this when she came on stage in a kind of a flesh-colored outfit that absolutely told everybody in the world that she's overweight. And I watched, and she absolutely destroyed herself. She couldn't remember the lyrics. She couldn't hear the music in the background. Oh, it was a train wreck.
It was. And also, too, did you hear that her staff asked what time does the ball drop?
I heard that, and I thought it was a joke, and I thought, my goodness, these are not the brightest and sharpest knives in the drawer.
Exactly. Not the brightest light bulb in the chandelier.
Oh, my goodness sakes. I mean, she did more to curtail her career than she did to add anything to it.
No, she didn't. You kind of blacked out there for a minute.
Oh, I don't know what happened. Sometimes I have those blackouts. I think it's due to the fact that maybe it wasn't turned up over at the station, but we'll check it out.
Yeah. But anyway, I just called to wish everybody a Happy New Year, and may God bless you this year, and just we have a prosperous year. It's looking positive, but don't weaken.
Amen. Amen. Doug, you are always welcome. Thank you so much.
You bet.
All right. Caller number 2, I'll be right there. I promise. I got to talk to you a little bit about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Well, I've been gone for 10 days. I got a right to make a mistake. Anyway, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation with my old buddy Nick Greenwell, head of all the physical therapists there at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Number to call, 678-1191. Make an appointment and help yourself, because they can help you get back to being and feeling like yourself. Excellent people there with all the exercises, all the sports medicine, the hydrotherapy pool, the only one of its kind in the area. And I swear by these people. I give them my seal of absolute approval. They are the best. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation in Burley, 678-1191. Caller, good morning. How are you? Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Good morning. I just wanted to remind you, in 18 days at noon, the sun will rise, and we will have a new leader, and hopefully a new perspective in America.
I couldn't agree more, and I am looking forward to that. There are exactly 16 days left of Obama. Jerry, I'm ready to have a don't let the door hit you in the posterior on the way out party for Obama. You want to join me and help me put it on?
I would sure do that. It would be a wonderful thing.
Oh, it's going to be exciting.
We probably had 8 of the worst years this country has ever seen, and more disgrace to our country than there has ever been. More racism, more problems. You know, I think everything he did was pretty well wrong. And boy, I'm sure going to be glad to see a turnaround. Hopefully it is for the better.
I agree with you, and this program, I'm going to be fair and balanced. If I don't think Trump has done the right thing or said the right thing or whatever, we're going to be highly critical of him. But I don't see how anybody couldn't be better than what we're having. And yet, Jerry, there's something else to worry about. Obama might pull the rug out from under our feet before he leaves in 16 days, and today is one of those days where he may use a little window of opportunity to put his man, Merrick Garland, on the Supreme Court. There's a window of 5 minutes between when the Senate is recessed and the new Senate is gavelled in, and a lot of people are afraid he's going to try to stick that liberal, Merrick Garland, on the Supreme Court.
Well, hopefully it doesn't happen, and if it does, I hope Trump kicks him off 5 minutes after he's in.
Okay. Jerry, I just think the world of you and your family. God bless you, man, in 2017. Thank you so much.
You bet. You have a wonderful new year. You tell that young girl you run around with, I think her name is Deanne.
Yes, she is.
To have one, too.
All right, my friend. God bless you. Thank you for your call. Thank you. Thank you. Calls are welcome and appreciated at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Obama might really try to pull this. I know that it's all speculation right now. But basically, there is a 5-minute window, which I was listening to a federal judge this morning talking about this, and it basically is narrowed down from 5 minutes to 1 minute. There is about 1 minute, 60 seconds in time that, quite frankly, when the chamber at the Senate is gavelled into and out of session in a matter of seconds, that do make recess appointments almost possible. And a lot of people are afraid that Obama's going to try to whistle in this Merrick Garland on the Supreme Court. We will wait and see. Nothing that Obama does would really surprise me. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental. I love these folks because they have everything. They've got all the equipment you need, I need, everybody needs to get the job done right. And they're located 3 locations, South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and, of course, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. And they've got all the equipment rentals, and they've got all the equipment sales. And if you're not sure how to run the equipment, like at the Burley location, they got a great big sandbox out behind, and you can learn how to run it. I don't care if it's a loader or whatever. I mean, they are great folks at Barry Equipment and Rental. Jerome, Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Did everybody have a chance to watch some of the bowl games that were on TV yesterday? There were some, I don't care if you're a football fan or not, there were some very exciting bowl games on television. And the one that's going to stick in a lot of people's minds for a long time to come, the Rose Bowl between USC and Penn State. There were 101 points scored. I'm not making that up. A total of 101 points were scored, and USC was the victor with a field goal over Penn State. It kind of resembled, in a way, a video game. Choop, 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 choop. I mean, up and down the field score. Holy cow, 101 points in that Rose Bowl game yesterday. Highest scoring Rose Bowl game ever. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, the other day, Deanne and I stopped over to see Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with the lovely Dr. Christine Pickup, and she has solidified to both of us that she knows everything about hearing. I mean, everything about sound, everything about different equipment, everything about hearing aids. She knows everything about hearing, and she's the only locally owned and independent hearing healthcare practice in southern Idaho. Number to call for an appointment to get a hearing screening, and I really recommend this, is 312-0957. 312-0957. Right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Please get a hold of her today. All right, calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. All right, here's our topic of conversation for this morning. Tell me this. And I really want your calls on this, please. Don't weaken on me. When you listen to the ridiculous, childish millennials, you get the impression, like Deanne and I did yesterday, watching and listening to these people, these 20 to 32-ish type age brackets. Are there any real tough, be tough, act tough men in that generation? The ones that go on TV or on the radio are nothing more but crybaby wannabes. I mean, am I wrong? I'm not saying that all the millennials, good heavens no, because farm-raised, rural-raised kids, ranch-raised kids, I absolutely think they're the John Waynes of the future, but there's not enough of them, unfortunately. But these wusses, they're going to be taking charge of our country before too long. And for the most part, especially with the males, they're nothing but LGBT lapdogs. I'm just going to come right out and say it the way it is. I have never in my life been so worried about an upcoming generation that doesn't have anybody representing their group that looks like, oh, I got a paper cut, I'm going to die. I have never seen such a bunch of wusses. I would love your calls. Please give me a jingle at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587 if you agree. And there was a story in the paper the other day that kind of backed up the students at the University of Maryland are making demands to the university leadership. Demands, key word there. And these demands, I mean, you read these demands and you wonder, whoa, wait a minute. The inmates are running the asylum here. Caller, good morning, you're on the air. Do you agree with me or think I'm wrong?
I agree with you, and I just called up to tell you a little story. I just walked off of a trucking job because of the manager was a female and she was this new millennial type. And I got news for you. This new millennial, even in management, they do not have any respect for, I'm older, you know, I'm getting close to 60, but they don't have any respect for the older folks or anything.
All right, now wait a minute. I don't want you to tell me the name of the business or anything else, but I want you to share with me, what was the attitude that drove you away from that company? I mean, what was said, what was done, etc.?
Just a crappy attitude, just like you're just, okay, it's just like I'm just an individual, but if you quit or I fire you, I've got 10,000 other people in your job.
You know, what do you think, though, about what I said a moment ago about the male? I just want to talk about the male gender, and I'm still going to consider male and female the only gender that's applicable here. But what about the male gender? When you see these guys, supposedly guys, on television that are absolute wussies, I mean, holy cow, does this not bother you?
Well, Zeb, we grew up watching John Wayne. Of course it bothers us.
Well, that's true. That's true. But, you know, how do we change it? How do we get back to men acting like men and leaders of their family, their community, etc.? How do we go back to what it should be?
I think, honestly, I think it's too far gone. I think we've babied everybody so much that it's just like a lost generation.
You know, I'm going to throw this at you. I think the give everybody a trophy, give everybody a blue ribbon attitude has absolutely sealed the fate of the next generation. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, yeah, because it gets to the point of what's even trying. I mean, that's part of life. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose.
Yeah.
You know, I've lost a lot of things in my life, and nobody gave me a trophy for participation, you know. It makes me feel good. That's all a part of growing up.
When you hear, and this is a legitimate story, too, I mean, it happened back east, two homosexual lovers, I mean, they broke down and they cried in each other's arms for supposedly 2 solid days because Trump won the election. Holy cow, I'm telling you, what's going on in this world?
I don't even have a comment on that, my friend.
And I don't blame you for that. Anyway, God bless you, and I hope 2017 is a good year for you. Thank you so much.
Same to you, my friend.
All right, take care. I'm not kidding you. I looked at, like, last night on Tucker Carlson. There was a millennial with his cute little bow tie. And I just don't see anything that you can look at and respect and say, you know, I don't care if it's John Wayne, I don't care if it's Lee Marvin in the movies, I don't care if it's Robert Mitchum, I don't care who, or maybe somebody that was really a tough guy in real life. We don't have that anymore. And this guy was one of these millennial crybabies. We want this and we demand this. We don't want that and we demand that you stop attitudes. And it was in this little wussy voice, you know. Well, at the University of Maryland, they are going through and they are absolutely condemning basically white people. And they're going after the university, and they've included increased mental health support and scholarships, listen to this, for marginalized students. Now, I need somebody like Debbie Critchfield with the Cassia County School District or Galen or somebody to call me and give me a distinct definition of why they, at the University of Maryland, would want to increase mental health support for marginalized college students. These are university and college students. Explain that to me. And then they're demanding, back there at the University of Maryland, that prayer rooms should be in every major building on campus. And listen to this one. Then they're demanding that there be a shuttle service for Muslims only to a Muslim center. And, of course, all of us would pay for that. And they say in their petition that they are trying to protect marginalized students. Again, I'm going to show some ignorance here, but if you're at a major university such as the University of Maryland or North Carolina or University of Wisconsin or wherever, how do you define marginalized students? And then they're also going after more protection for American Indians, blacks, Latinos. And then this definition leaves me wondering what all this takes place. LGBTQIA. I have no idea that the LGBT has expanded now also to incorporate the following letters of QIA. I have my own cowboy version of what that may mean, but that probably isn't the case. And then, of course, extreme protection for Muslims and pro-Palestinians. And then they demand at the University of Maryland that there absolutely be so much more protection for undocumented students, and they can't stand the Jewish students. They're out in the cold because they are advocating pro-Palestinian. I mean, these are demands. And the list of demands at the University of Maryland goes on and on and on, and other colleges and universities are picking this up. Wait a minute. When did they start controlling the college? When did they tell the Board of Regents what to do and when to do it and how to get it done? Holy cow. Give me your calls on this. The whole millennial generation, with the exception of rural kids and people that live in rural communities, I'm telling you, there's some great kids out there, but there's not enough of them. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Sophie's Chatterbox. Every Monday we give away cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street, right on the square in Rupert. Oh, my goodness. Everybody that's gone down and picked up those cookies has called me and said, whoa, baby, these are good. Nobody did bring me a cookie, however. And so I suggest you be listening on Mondays. We'll have a little trivia contest, and we'll give you away a dozen cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Great place to eat, great bakery at Sophie's Chatterbox. All right, your turn. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I don't know if you caught this or not over the last couple of weeks, but I consider myself blessed to have been, I think it was last week on Thursday or Friday, I can't remember. I was sitting in my chair after coming in from feeding with my lovely bride of 45 years, and we were cold. And we sat down and were watching a little bit of the news, and I started channel surfing, and I happened to come across a interview with Mike Lindell. And I'm going to tell you more about Mike Lindell in case you don't recognize that name in just a moment. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. I'll get you in before I do a weather forecast.
Yeah. Good morning, Deb, and Happy New Year to you.
How are you?
Change the subject just a little bit. Green Bay had 3 seasons, the first season, then the middle season, and then the last season. So, fortunately, it ended up on the positive note. But somewhat like that Rose Bowl game last night, the USC, then it was Penn State, then USC finished it off. So it was interesting to say the least, but it's never over till it's over.
Amen. And I'll tell you what, right now,
about the universities, I mean, there is no academic freedom for any kind of conservatives. They will not get tenure. We've seen that happen even right here in Idaho. And I can guarantee you that the agenda that they push, and of course the Muslim agenda, that's being pushed with care, and that's the National Muslim Association there, that they basically are all tied right in with the radical Islamic terrorist groups. But the list you read down just doesn't, the taxpayers are the ones that always get the tab on all of these things. Yep. And these universities, you better pick them carefully, because if your kids are not well grounded before they go to the universities, I don't care which one it is, they get hold of these liberal professors up there at the ivory towers. And this has been going on for a long time, Zeb. It's a long time. And as old as we are, I'm speaking for myself, of course, but we had, seen this being a problem way back in the 60s and 70s and before. Yep. Promoting this New World Order nonsense and making socialism acceptable and supposedly an alternative to free enterprise capitalism.
Absolutely. Adrian, I got to get you out here on the program for a full-time segment, and we'll talk more about this. But all in all, I honestly say this, and I mean this. I am embarrassed and ashamed of the younger millennial generation. Not all of them. There's some great kids, but the bulk of them, because they don't act like real men and women.
No, and that's been on purpose to basically feminize the men. Yeah. That's certainly been part of the agenda. You can't be a man anymore. The man is the head of the household. Is used to be the man. He would make the final decision in a household with consulting with his wife. Yep. But now, that's been turned around, and it's this whole degeneration of our family unit to the point where mom and dad doesn't count. Well, look at 75% of all black Hispanic. Well, it's 50% for Hispanics. It's 75% for African Americans. Don't have any fathers at home. Yeah. And then just draw welfare. This has got to stop. Yeah. Because this is what these kids are growing up, not having a father figure, somebody that they can call an idol. And I know my dad and your dad, hardworking people, they supported us in our activities. They taught us how to work, how to play, and how to be good citizens, and our word was our bond.
Absolutely. You brought up a point there, Adrian, and I got to get a weather forecast in here. I'm about 4 minutes late, but I want to wrap our conversation up by saying this. Bobby Bowden, former great Florida State University football coach for many, 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 many years, a man now in his 80s, just wrote a book about exactly what we're talking about, how coaching today, you have to be a father figure, because so many, if not the bulk of the numbers of college kids that want to go play football come from broken homes and have never had a father or a male figure leading them.
Well, in the same way with Lavelle Edwards, what a great leader he was. Yeah. He was a guy that could go one nose to nose, face to face with his athletes and bring out the best. Before he took over the BYU football program, they basically hadn't had a winning season in years.
I got to run.
It took a little while to turn it around. But, it's a few people like Bowden and Lavelle Edwards have made a big difference in so many people's lives.
Yeah, I agree.
And the influence, the leadership that they show. But they're rare individuals for sure, because it's so easy to go along with the crowd, and the crowd usually is always headed into the gutter.
I agree with you. Got to run, Adrian. Happy New Year. Thank you for calling.
You're certainly welcome. Have
Thank
a good
you.
one.
Thank you, sir. Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by Kyle James and his wonderful urgent care serving you. Riverview Urgent Care, 382 North Overland and Burley. Twin Falls Urgent Care, 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin Falls, and Jerome Urgent Care, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. Absolutely minor emergencies, major care. Open 7 days a week. You better get a hold of them today, and they will serve you and your family. The Urgent Cares. Right now, here is the weather forecast.
Here's your weather forecast as we saddle up and ride again for the weekend. We are expecting snow showers off and on throughout the day. We are expecting 1 inch of snow throughout the daytime hours, but through this evening, anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of snow. We are expecting a little bit of wind as well out of the northeast, right around 10 miles an hour. Going to have a high of 28 for today, tonight low of 20. For tomorrow, more snow showers are expected within the forecast. Winds are going to be picking up to about 15 miles an hour. Accumulations 3 to 5 inches for tomorrow. Expecting a high of 21, overnight low of 4, and then partly cloudy and 10 degrees for Thursday. And that is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, my goodness, it's going to get cold. Brrr, it's cold outside. And the weather brought to you this hour by the Urgent Cares. Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Twin Falls Urgent Care in Twin, Jerome Urgent Care over in Jerome. Flu shot still available. You better get in there and check it out. They can help you. They will help you at the Urgent Cares. Minor emergency, major care. Excuse me. Time to give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I mentioned a few moments ago about a gentleman by the name of Mike Lindell. And I'll bet you that if I had a trivia question this morning, most of you have seen this man on television. But I wonder if most of you remember his name. He is one of the most recognized figures for a certain product all across the United States and Canada, and now for that matter almost the world. Mike Lindell, the developer of MyPillow. And I'll be right with you, caller. Don't go away. I saw the information video about Mike and the absolute horrors of his earlier life with addiction. And he is so honest and so forthright about how God and his Savior Jesus Christ led him to what he is today. It was one of the most amazing stories I've ever heard in my life. And the reason I bring this up this morning is because I'm trying through his office to get him on this program next week. I hope I can. Caller, go ahead, please. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb.
Well,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you and Mary, and I heard all kinds of things about you and Mary dancing till dawn.
Oh, yeah. No, it was a whole week of cooking.
Okay. What's going on, my dear friend Tony?
You know, it's quite evident that even though Donald Trump got in, we've still got a Republican Party members and the Democratic parties are still working to bring this country to its knees.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that this is even happening.
You know, it scares me that we have a party, the Democrats, that are leaning so far to the left right now that they would even consider Keith Ellison, Muslim from Minnesota, as a party leader and the other considerations of their party. I'm afraid of the Democrats. I'm afraid of the Democratic Party. I just absolutely, I wonder where they're going to hit us next.
Well, I'm afraid it's coming, but I think now that Italy is starting to deport some of these people, and that should be happening here. You know, what's going to happen is we're letting so many people in here that are going on welfare and food stamps that are from these foreign countries.
Yeah.
And the American taxpayers, especially people who are on retirement now, collecting Social Security, and the future Americans, there's not going to be any money to support we Americans who have served our country, paid our taxes all these years, and bring all these people in that have no jobs for them, and they're going to be just dragging us down financially.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, even some of the smaller towns across America right now, like a town in Vermont, Rutland, Vermont, told the mayor to stick it in his ear when he, the mayor, wanted to take it upon himself to resettle 100 Syrian refugees in his town. And the rest of the people in town says, no, you're not. We're going to fight you every way that we can, and we don't want them here. We can't afford, the key word being afford, we can't afford them. Hey, Tony, as you can see, I'm late. I got to get a commercial in and go to the news. God bless you and Mary. Happy New Year to you. All right, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to talk. Tony brought up a really good point about the refugees, and believe me, I'm not going to back off on these subjects. I know during the Christmas holidays, when I wasn't on the air and we ran the reruns, I had some calls. Well, maybe you better back off a little bit. I don't back off on anything. As a matter of fact, I'll say this real quick. I'm even working on trying to get the new state leadership for the Democratic Party on my program so I can find out from her where they stand and why. We'll see what happens. Right now, I want to remind you about, oh boy, winter driving conditions. You heard snow today. You heard 3 to 5 inches tomorrow. Have you got your traction tires? Well, if not, get into your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers today. Don't put it off for the best of the tires to get you through the snow and the ice and the yuck and the muck. They've got them all. And they've got the people that can recommend the best for your car, pickup, SUV, etc. The best in brake service. You know that. The best in all the shocks and struts and the batteries, front end alignment. Don't go anywhere until you go there and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland and Burley. Yup, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, absolutely the best. I'm late, got to run. News next from CBS. I'll see you in 6. Go ahead, Wheels. Thank you. Oh my, winter has slapped us in the face. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch 2017, good morning. And of course, we thank our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
I'll tell you what, they've moved their big headquarters, and man, are they serving the entirety of Magic Valley, and that's Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. They're over at 70 West Frontage Road in Jerome. My goodness, they've got all the mobile storage units. They've got, of course, all the porta potties. And they can pick up your garbage once a week. It's gone. It's out of there. Get on the route service today. Call them at 734-6969. Western Waste Services. Yes, sir. I appreciate them. Always at your disposal. Hey, don't forget, every morning we start the program off with the weather, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for that blue door. I'm telling you, great folks. Carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, home decor items, whatever you need to make your house a home at Cheney Flooring and Home Design in Burley. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and my buddy, I'm going to say good morning and Happy New Year to him. Frosty Woldridge, how are you?
Good morning, Zeb, and Happy New Year, and Happy New Year to everyone. I tell you what, I can't wait for January the 20th to get here. If you can feel a little excitement in my voice, it's only about 17 days away, so this is auspicious. This is exciting, and boy, oh boy, what a start for 2017, a new president of our country.
Well, as a matter of fact, I've narrowed it down a little bit more than that, Frosty Woldridge, my dear friend. 16 days, 23 hours, 55 minutes, and now 6 seconds.
Okay. I'm with you all the way. I've got the biggest smile on my face. I am so excited to have America led by an American, an all-American, who looks out and serves all of us, the American citizens of this country. I can't wait till Donald Trump goes to all of the sanctuary cities and literally takes all of the mayors and the city councils of those sanctuary cities either off to court or defunds them or whatever he can do to change the course of history here in America and rid this nation of illegal, alien, migrant people, their children, their welfare needs, and get them back to their own countries where they can find a better life and make a better life in their own country, just like we do in our own country.
You know, Frosty, it's got to stop. I mean, we have got to stop this Swiss cheese approach to immigration in this country. Come on in, everybody. Come on in from the southern borders. Come on in at the major airports. Come on down from Canada. We don't know who's here. We don't know for what purpose. We are looking at various terror instances across the globe that have already occurred here in the United States, but now they're being enhanced in other locations. We honestly, and I'll say this morning, our first program of 2017, I think that we are less secure today than we were up to as much as 10 years ago. I think we're more on the precipice of danger with terrorism than ever before.
And you would be correct. When you look at the 22 jihadist Islamic training terror camps that are spread out across America from New York through Pennsylvania, Michigan, and all the way to Washington and Oregon. There's no question about that. And that the Islamic jihadists, whether it's the Black Lives Matter, whether it's the CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, or the Muslim Brotherhood, all of these organizations have, and it's the Islamic Society of North America, all of them are getting into key situations. We now have over 2,200 mosques in this country, and you can bet a huge number of them are teaching jihadism here in the United States, and so that's going on. One of the things that's really exciting, and you can go to my Christmas wish list for 2017, you can see it at newswithviews.com. This morning, I'm glad they published it, and it's in another 20 news service websites where I publish. But the cool thing is that the U.S. Senator Cotton has literally called. He's a Republican from Arkansas. He's called for a drastic reduction in legal immigration, and he gives all the reasons. And so it's really exciting. And even I think it was one of the big newspapers in New York was really jumped all over this, and what a terrible thing to have a drastic reduction of all immigration. Of course, you know me, I've called for a complete, total shutdown of all immigration because, again, we're now moving this country toward more automation. We don't need more janitors. We certainly don't need more crop pickers. We certainly don't need all of those non-skilled jobs that anybody can do, and in fact, robots are doing. And so it's exciting to see this whole new administration, a whole new outlook, and I'm excited about it. And January 20th, it's going to start.
You know, I don't trust Obama, and I told you this before our Christmas break, because even today as we speak, in about, let's see, it might be happening back east in about 41 minutes, when there is a gavel to end the current Senate session, and then there's a 5-minute lapse. And during that 5 minutes, there is 1 minute of opportunity before they gavel in the new session, where Obama, quite frankly, and it's been brought to me by many, many people during the last 6 days, he might try to slip in his Supreme Court man, Merrick Garland, and take over the liberal side of the Supreme Court. This man, this Obama, so insidious, I don't trust him up to the last minute.
You know, I don't trust him as a human being, period. He really has been a subversive against the American people for the last 8 years now. He's got his 17 days left where he gets to do whatever he's going to do. But I don't think that there's any way he's going to be able to do any more damage to our country in the next 17 days. because there is the Republican House and Senate are there to block him. There are really top-notch reporters and journalists to expose him. And so, and there's a new dawning. I mean, there's no question. The American people are sick and tired of the Obama quote-unquote legacy because it's been so destructive for our people and our American citizens and our English language and our ethos of our country. He had 8 years to destroy us. He did a pretty good job of really making a mess out of everything, but he's done in 17 days, and he will be issued to the dustbin of history. And I call, you've seen it on Facebook, this will be an end of an error. E-R-R-O-R, error. Not an era, but an error.
I love it.
Barack Obama, his presidency will be seen in the history books as an era of an error.
Let me ask you this, though. You mentioned it just a moment ago. But there's going to be a big transition in this country. There has to be of thought, word, and deed. And that thought, word, and deed has got to start with a transition of the media. I'll bet you a lot of these media representatives, they're sitting in basements right now with the lights off, tearing their hair out, gnashing their teeth because they won't know how to act if they have to start giving credible journalistic value to the Trump administration.
That's one of the exciting things that's happened because he's been on Twitter. And essentially, if you look back at FDR, he talked to the American people on radio way back in the 30s and 40s. And what I think has happened is Twitter is now the radio where Trump can actually get his message out. And in fact, his Twitters are forcing all of the journalists to respond to that latest Twitter the night before. And so you see the headlines talking about what he's talking about. And what he's talking about is dealing with America's challenges, our citizens' challenges, and what he's going to do about them. So there is a new impact, and it's a fireside chat, and it's just known as Twitter.
Frosty, I would like to take just a couple of minutes here and ask you if you agree with me on another subject that we don't talk enough about. When I was watching television the last couple of days, coming in and watching the bowl games and then catching up on some of the news and channel surfing, etc., it was absolutely apparent to me with the ridiculous, childish millennials. I'm not saying all the millennials are childish and ridiculous, but it seems like the leadership, if you will, of that generation. Are there any real men anymore in America of the generation coming up? They're all a bunch of wussies and wannabes. What are your thoughts?
Well, as a matter of fact, I spoke to that, and I'd like to quote out of the last paragraph of my column today that you'll see on newswithviews.com. Have you noticed a lack of loyalty and honor toward our flag and our country in the past decade? The Council on American Islamic Relations and the Black Lives Matter and the Muslim Brotherhood all hoped to destroy America. People stomp on our flag or sit on the bench disrespecting our national anthem. Let's institute a mandatory 2 years of service to our country by every youth at the age of 18 through 20. 2 years of civilian AmeriCorps doing work in needed areas of America, such as teachers' assistants in inner cities, digging wells, growing crops, and painting houses. Or serve in the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force, or the Army. It's time our youth learn to appreciate and contribute to the well-being of our country to instill pride and national allegiance. That sentence is the last one in this column that I wrote. And let's face it, we have youth today that don't have a sense of allegiance to America, no understanding of what the privilege of freedom of speech and freedom of choice and freedom of all of the things that freedom of dress, freedom of thought, the freedom to live your life as you wish, to the pursuit of happiness. And so I'm really of that bias, if you will, to reinstill pride in our country. I'm proud of my country. I'm proud of the flag. I'm proud to stand up and put my hand over my heart. And I think that is very much needed. And I think that a 2-year mandatory either civilian AmeriCorps, because I've worked with AmeriCorps students before, and or going into the military, will be a really good way to have America's youth have a new sense of responsibility for their country. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. You know, this morning earlier, I think it was at about, 5:30 this morning or so, Bobby Bowden, former great coach of Florida State University, and one of the last real, let's say, leadership coaches in this country. He made a statement. He was being interviewed for a book that he had just written about the changes in the and the culture changes in our athletes of today. And he was asked if someone like Colin Kaepernick would have taken a knee or sat on the bench during the national anthem in one of his teams. And he just looked at the camera and he said, "Not on my watch."
Agreed. You know, and some of these coaches, all these coaches, if one of these kids under my tutelage, if I was coaching, wanted to take a knee or sit on the bench or disrespect our country like that, I say you can sit on the bench the rest of the game.
That's right.
Because there's no way I would tolerate that kind of disrespectful behavior. That's like disrespecting your mother and your father. No one should disrespect their mother than their father, especially when they're so treated so well.
Yep.
And Colin Kaepernick, being the spoiled brat he is, was extraordinarily well treated growing up.
Absolutely.
And he had all of the opportunities that this country gave him. So, yeah, like Bowden, I'd make sure that if you want to sit, you'll be sitting on the bench the rest of the game.
We've got a caller with a quick question. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air. Please go.
Well, maybe you noticed this, Zeb and Frosty, that the Alabama-Washington game, when they played the national anthem, they didn't refer to it as the national anthem. I don't remember exactly what they called it. But during the playing of the national anthem, not once did they show the American flag.
Which I find despicable.
This appalled me.
Yeah.
This is, of course, on ESPN.
Yeah.
And then ABC, with the Rose Parade, I watch on the Home Garden channel because they don't have any commercials, but my sister doesn't have that, and she watched it.
Okay.
ABC cut out, did not show the Lutheran float celebrating Jesus.
Oh, my goodness.
So, see, this is the kind of stuff that's going on, but I totally agree with Bowden and Lavelle Edwards. These are the great coaches, and we need to bring back the heritage of this country and what the flag means, because these kids today, they have no seemingly allegiance to anybody. But anyway, I wanted you to comment about that. But ESPN is just so anti-Christian and anti-American in so many different ways.
Well, I agree with you. And caller, I thank you for your call. Frosty, I think he brings up a really good point, because I, too, along with my wife, Deanne, we've noticed over the last couple of months that some of the networks, like on Monday Night Football, etc., they have avoided putting the national anthem, and they put a commercial break in there instead. I find that despicable, and I personally am going to let them know my outrage over this.
Well, there's no question, and I'll do the same. In fact, the caller, thank you very much, to really take out or black out our Christian heritage, and certainly the American flag, which is built on the Christian heritage, is really one of the ways that the national media are taking us away from our country, taking away from our ethos and our culture. And if we've got to fight for it, then we better start fighting for it. And again, my wish list for 2017 has many of those things about fighting for our country and pride in our country, not only for we, the older citizens, but also the younger citizens that are going to be part of this society and be responsible for it here in the coming decades.
Have you noticed, let's say it really started to come to a boiling point last Tuesday, as a matter of fact, between Christmas and New Year's, the anti-Jewish feeling by the Obama administration regarding Israel, and then it's kind of flowed over into the various colleges and universities across this country, where they're really advocating a pro-Palestinian, anti-Jewish remark, and having all these different rallies, etc. I'm very concerned that our nation's number one and only ally in the Middle East is being subjected to being out on a limb all by themselves, thanks to the Obama administration. What are your thoughts?
Well, only 17 more days of that kind of an attitude. And, Netanyahu said it very clearly. If the Palestinians gave up their guns, peace would break out between the two countries the next day. But if the Jewish state of Israel gave up its guns, they would be completely obliterated from the map. Literally, their extinction would be assured. Let it never be forgotten that Islam is out to kill all Jews, and they would kill the Jews any chance they got. And of course, you have to understand that Barack Obama is a Muslim. He said it in his books. He said when the political winds get ugly, then he would stand with the Muslims. Make no mistake about that. So all the things you just saw, the vote at the UN and everything else that goes down with it, that's part and parcel of the Islamic jihadism against Israel. And thankfully, we're going to have Trump step in here and stop that in 17 days. But that's the reality of what's going on there in Israel when it comes to Palestinians. And what's so foolish about it is the liberal press sits here doesn't realize that the Muslims would cut their throats in a heartbeat if they were in power. And that's the reality of Islam. It does not tolerate any kind of free speech whatsoever or choice of religion.
Absolutely.
Or women's rights. You can go right on down the line.
Real quick, I want you to talk briefly. I've only got about 3 minutes left, but I want you to hit on the cabinet. I honestly, and I feel this way, and I'm not being gratuitous when I say this, I feel that the picks for the cabinet in the Trump administration have been absolutely excellent. I think he's done a great job in appointing these various people, but the Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer, they say they're going to have a big harangue, and they're picking out 8 cabinet members that they absolutely can't agree to. I say, shut up, Schumer, go sit in the corner, and I say to the Republicans, be tough, ram them through. What are your thoughts?
Well, I would love to see term limits so that we could eradicate Chuck Schumer immediately, throw him out of the Congress, because he has been such a useless byproduct. And so, yes, the thing I like about Trump's picks is this. They are the top of their game. We're talking about the best. We're talking about the brightest. We're talking about the most successful. And then when you have those kinds of leaders at the top of the American situation, politics, and literally at the top of their game, then all Americans are going to benefit by having top-notch leaders. So that to me is just outstanding. Chuck Schumer is literally a living, walking anachronism.
I agree with you. Last final thought this morning. I'm sure you're like me. I am a football junkie, and I love the bowl season. And the Rose Bowl yesterday between USC and Penn State actually resembled a video game. Beep, beep, touchdown. Beep, beep, touchdown. 101 points yesterday.
When you have that kind of incredible high-powered offenses, and then you have defenses that are just kind of looking at the guy's heels as he runs for the touchdown, wow, it makes for a lot of excitement. And of course, it was an exciting bowl season, and I think what's coming here, what is it, on the 9th is going to be pretty exciting too, when we have the college national playoff. So, in the end, it's just it's fantastic, and we all get to be the great spectators in the great sport of America, and it was fun.
I could be very nasty this morning and say, I watched Wisconsin win. I watched Michigan get blown away. Where was Michigan State? But I wouldn't do that to you, my dear friend.
Oh, thank you. You're so kind. Your graciousness here in 2017 just overwhelms me, and my heart overflows with joy, and you're so kind, and thank you so much. And the Spartans will rise again next fall.
Oh, yeah, and one other parting shot, though. I don't see Denver in the playoffs, but I do see Green Bay. But I wouldn't be nasty enough to say that.
Yeah, well, then all I can say is it's only entertainment.
Okay. Hey, God bless you, my dear friend. The best to you and your lovely wife for 2017. Thanks, Frosty Woolridge. We appreciate you.
And Zeb, back at you. Godspeed.
All right, buddy. Take care. One of the dearest friends I have, Frosty Woldridge, and back in Golden, Colorado. Thank you very much. Holy cow, we got to pay some bills. Oh, speaking of Bill, I'm talking about Dr. Bill and Dr. Liz and the entire crew over at Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Heyburn. Oh, my goodness. Write this number down. I don't care if you got a little kitty cat or a great big cow. You need to get a hold of them. They have all the help and assistance for your animals. It's a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They love them all. They have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Very sincere people that love animals. I'm serious about that. You get a hold of them today, 678-1177. That number again, 678-1177. Ark Animal Hospital in Heyburn. Yep, warm hearts for cold noses. I love that. And by the way, too, we want to remind you about some friends to this program for a long, long time. And that's Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, with Joel Heward, the manager, his family, and his staff. And they wish all of you a very happy and prosperous 2017. But, you know, we have to face reality. And when there's the passing of a loved one, you have to rely on people to help you. And they will at Hanson Mortuary. They can help with all the arrangements. They can make sure that you're treated with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please give them a call today at 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, serving you. Oh, my goodness, we're going to have our next guest with us on the phone momentarily, and I love this lady. She's always a great guest, and we'll have Rachel Alexander here in a minute. Don't forget, I know some people that are going, yay, look at the weather, look at the snow, and that's Let's Ride. They've got all the snowmobiles over at Let's Ride. Oh, my goodness, they love to see all this angel dandruff falling on the ground. They know that there's a lot of snow up in them thar hills. Well, get over there today at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 5. Fantastic accessory department, great service department to keep you running and gunning and having a lot of fun. Let's Ride. Stop over there today, 270 Highway 24 in Rupert and the World. This is where the fun is sold. Really good folks. Okay, let us go to the phone line and welcome for 2017. She's been here many, many times in the past couple of years. Rachel Alexander, good morning and Happy New Year. How are you?
I am doing great, even though I am snowed in not too far away from you in a motel in Wells, Nevada.
You know, I'm chuckling because I have had that same circumstance happen in my life to where I've been snowed in Wells, Nevada. Let's just tell you, sweetie, you're going to be there for a while.
Oh, it's not clearing until at least Thursday, or maybe even Friday.
Oh, my. Well, due to the fact that you're only about 125 miles away, why don't you come on up for lunch if you can hook the dogs up to the dog sled?
Yeah, one of those snowmobiles you were talking about.
There you go.
My Mustang ain't driving on these highways here.
Rachel, let's talk a little bit about a story that you had written about Eric Braverman. Most of my audience might not have ever heard that name, and most might not know the circumstances. I thought up front you did a wonderful job in that story about his disappearance. It's very spooky. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, what's going on here, and I hadn't even heard of this story until one of my coworkers brought it to my attention a couple weeks ago. Eric Braverman is the former CEO of the Clinton Foundation, and he was pushed out after only a year and a half or so because the insiders, the old, Clinton cronies, did not want him there. Chelsea Clinton had brought him in to clean up the corruption in the foundation. So what happened is he seems to have gone missing in mid to late October. And what people think is it's because he's afraid of the Clintons, and he could either now be in FBI protective custody because he's going to testify against the Clintons, because the FBI is still investigating the Clinton Foundation, or maybe he's even asked for asylum from the Russians. And what's even more fascinating about this is the mainstream media, and this is why I didn't know about it, the mainstream media will not cover it. To this date, I am the only mainstream journalist who dares to cover this and write about it. And I'm not really sure why. Are people scared of the Clintons? Do they think this is just a conspiracy theory? I don't know. But when I do my research on something that people think is a conspiracy research, I go hardcore and I dig deep. And I did. And so I contacted the Russian embassy. I contacted Yale, where he is a professor at. I contacted him himself. I emailed him. I left a message on his personal voicemail. And guess what I got in return? Nothing. Not a single person would respond to me as a member of the media and give me anything. There was one woman at Yale gave me kind of a runaround. That's all I got. She just said she was going to email me some information, and she never did. So basically, something's up. I mean, he stopped tweeting. We're going to have people go to his Yale class that's supposed to be resuming here in the next few days to see if he's really teaching it. Because if you were him or his family, wouldn't you at least come out and make a statement and say, oh, yeah, no, he's really here?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's something funny going on. There's something fishy going on. And one, the mainstream media won't cover it. And two, they can't prove that he really is still here. So you can't just say that it's a conspiracy theory.
Rachel, when I read your story and read between the lines, tell us a little bit about what he had done supposedly, and supposedly what John Podesta had in a reply about Braverman, and how serious maybe Mr. Braverman is in trouble with the Clinton machine. Go ahead and give us a little bit more information on that.
Yeah, well, how a lot of this came out, and the day that this email came out from WikiLeaks, from John Podesta's emails, is the day it was thought that Braverman went missing, because that was that same day or the next day, Braverman supposedly asked for asylum from the Russian embassy. Well, what this email exchange was Neera Tandem, who's head of the left-wing group American Progress, emailed John Podesta saying, this tweet from Joe Scarborough, as far as close to the Clintons, tell Ron Fournier to follow the money and find the real Hillary scandal. So he's basically saying there that somebody close to the Clintons is, telling the media, this is how you're going to, find the goods on Hillary. So she's asking who that is, and Podesta responds and says it's Eric Braverman. So that basically, exposes Braverman as being kind of a mole in the Clinton Foundation, and that is what, tips up, we think, probably triggered all this, him to go into hiding and the speculation that he was missing when he just stopped.
Well, no. Wait a minute here.
Anywhere.
Rachel, now let me tie the shoes together here a little bit. If Braverman had leaked some information to WikiLeaks about the Clinton Foundation and the abuse of money going through the foundation, I guess what I would say as a journalist is, maybe it was Braverman that leaked the information about the election, etc., and the negativity on Hillary, and the Russians had nothing to do with it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's the other point I brought out in my article, is not only does he have the goods on the Clintons, but he might have been the ones who have leaked the goods on the Clintons. And, the guy who makes this speculation that it was an insider, disgruntled insider, who leaked the goods on the Clintons to WikiLeaks is this guy named Craig Murray, a former British ambassador to Uzbekistan and a close associate of WikiLeaks founder. He told the Daily Mail this. So, there's a fairly legitimate guy right there saying that, no, this isn't Russia. Trump's right. It's not Russia interfering with the election. It's Hillary's own corrupt people.
You know, honestly, Rachel, in your studies, and I know you've been a really astute journalist for a long time, asking the right questions and writing the right stories. But you know as well as I do that this is not the first time that there's been maybe a wink of the eye or little innuendos about people that turn up dead because they worked for the Clintons. This isn't the first time that we have to worry, is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I would say, what about the Obama body count? On the right, we don't really like Obama at all, but do we fairly come out and say, okay, look, there's really no deaths associated, with the Obama. There's just not. But then there's this long list of deaths associated with the Clintons. I mean, what does that tell you? I mean, something is probably fishy. And, the Clintons have gotten a free pass for so long because they're so powerful. The media is in bed with them. So, the only thing that might finally shed some light on this is these WikiLeaks, emails that are coming out they finally can't escape the truth,
Okay, but now let me ask you this. Paint this picture for me a little bit. Could Braverman, knowing that the big machine called the Clinton Politics and the Clinton Foundation, could he have gone into hiding and possibly, like your article intimates, got a hold of the FBI and asked for protective custody because he's scared to death right now?
Exactly. That's what everyone is speculating. It makes sense. It's very likely. It's realistic. He knows how vindictive the Clintons are. And then there is speculation. I mean, is he dead or not? And, I don't think he's dead because so many things are still active. His email address, his phone number. I heard one journalist emailed him and actually got a read receipt response back. So somebody is checking his email. I just think if he was dead, that there'd be, maybe they would have found the body or something. At least with the Clinton body counts, they actually find the body. So it's just a matter of, I think he's probably either with the Russians or with the FBI. And, my gut instinct is probably the FBI, but I don't know.
Rachel, when it comes down to the bottom line, and you're very honest in your writing, and you give, I think, credence to both sides of the story for the reader to kind of ultimately come up with their own opinion. But when you look at the information that was leaked about Hillary Clinton, which was factually true, and we as voters should have known about this, why are the Democrats so protective about not giving all the information out and blaming us, the voters, because we listened to the information that was honest and upfront?
Yeah, they're just trying to, pull out all these red herrings and distract people from the truth and the criminal stuff that we should be focusing on. I mean, it's just typical Democrat Stalwinski-ite tactics of just blame the other side. Just like they are doing with blaming the Russians instead of their own themselves for the email being hacked.
Yeah. Now, right there, I want you to elaborate on that point because this is my feeling. I think that Obama, from the top down, and all the others in the Democratic Party are trying to use the Russians as a scapegoat right now. And quite frankly, I think what they're doing and what they're playing here is the most dangerous card in the deck with Russia. What are your thoughts? Because I think they're blaming the wrong person or persons, and I think this could lead to a real disaster in the Cold War.
Yeah, I think that this is a powerful enemy. This is not someone we want as our enemy. If you're a Christian, I mean, the Bible says, this is going to be a evil power in the end. And you're playing with fire. They're needlessly making enemies out of Putin. And, they're kind of hypocritical, too, because I know underneath the Obama administration, they've done their own interference, with other countries' elections and other types of, the NSA spying. I mean, the U.S. is not absolutely perfect here, and even so, there's no proof yet that the Russians have done this. And I mean, you've probably been following some of the latest developments over the last few days, where they're saying they've found this evidence that the Russians must have hacked into our infrastructure and things. And
right.
What they do is they embellish these things. They find some spyware on some employees at the power company's computer in Vermont, and they claim that's evidence of hacking. I mean, they're just making this stuff up now. It's fake news. And by the way, I do have to point out before I forget, this whole story of his disappearance, the Snopes site, that left-leaning, myth-debunking site, which I'm going to be starting my own conservative site soon to compete with it, because it just, refutes all the conservative stories and says they're all false.
Right.
Well, after I wrote my story, they changed the status of their account from false to unproven, and they now link to my article.
Oh, my.
So at least I got through to those guys.
I've never met you personally, and I would really enjoy the day we can shake hands and sit down and talk. But are you at all concerned, Rachel, for your health and well-being by having a story about Eric Braverman, asking questions about where he is, and intimating that there might have been some insidious means and methods to get rid of him? Are you concerned for your safety?
It has occurred to me a little bit. I don't think of myself as that much of a bigwig, but being a former editor of a gun magazine, and I've got photos of me with guns all over social media, I kind of figure they wouldn't really think of me as an easy target. But I am a little bit worried, because I do think there is something to the Clinton body count.
Okay, but now there's one group of people that I'm still a little bit miffed about that have not picked up on this story. And with your connections, are you kind of playing their hand a little bit and forcing them and coercing them? And that's the media. Why aren't they checking on this and having any media coverage? Is it because of the thumbs down from the Clinton Foundation?
Yeah, my gut instinct is it's two factors. It's one, they're scared of the Clintons, and two, they're on Clinton's side, so they don't really like to write negative things about her.
Does it surprise you, last thought here this morning, here we are almost 2 months from the election, and still the under the table, the griping and the sniping, and the Democrats absolutely not being able to cope with the fact that they lost legally. Does it surprise you that the animus is still here as much as it is today?
No, because they have been ginning it up more and more and more, just ratcheting up the level of, fake outrage, with the Black Lives Matter protests and, all these other organized paid protests. They've just been escalating people's tensions and anger deliberately, and so I don't see it dying off.
I want to say, first of all, I hope that you get out of Wells, Nevada. Secondarily, I absolutely praise you for your great story, the mysterious disappearance of former Clinton Foundation CEO Eric Braverman. And when you get any updates on this story, please call me and we'll get you back on the air. Thank you, Rachel Alexander. God bless and Happy New Year.
God bless you, too. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
You bet. Very nice lady right there. And you heard she was on a road trip and is stuck in Wells, Nevada right now because of the snow. And it looks nasty outside, so be careful out there. With the cold temperatures and everything, if you're traveling anywhere, be prepared. Have some food and water in your vehicle. Have, the flares in case you go off the side of the road. Have warm blankets in there, please. Extra clothing, etc. Please drive carefully out there. Oh, my goodness, time for the weather. Yeah, I'm late, and then we'll take some more calls. It's tax time. Yeah, it's time to start worrying about taxes. Well, you better work with the professionals that can help you, and that's Pope, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company, CPAs. Curtis Pope, Todd Phillips, Rob Oaks, Mitch Goodwin, Leiden Crane, all really great people, and they know their business. Absolutely the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, bookkeeping services, retirement planning. Call them and see them today. Absolutely the best. 2 locations in Burley and, of course, in Rupert. And right now, they bring you the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we saddle up and ride again for the weekend. We are expecting snow showers off and on throughout the day. We are expecting 1 inch of snow throughout the daytime hours, but through this evening, anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of snow. We are expecting a little bit of wind as well out of the northeast, right around 10 miles an hour. Going to have a high of 28 for today, tonight low of 20. For tomorrow, more snow showers are expected within the forecast. Winds are going to be picking up to about 15 miles an hour. Accumulations 3 to 5 inches for tomorrow. Expecting a high of 21, overnight low of 4, and then partly cloudy and 10 degrees for Thursday. And that is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Woo! 10 degrees for a high on Thursday? Surely you must not mean it, Gina. I hope. Hey, don't forget the weather brought to you this hour by Pope Phillips Oaks Goodwin and Company, CPAs. Yes, sirree, the best. The professionals working to serve you at 1710 Overland in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Pope Phillips Oaks Goodwin and Company, CPAs. All right, it's your turn. Give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Love to hear what you have to say, so give us a jingle right now. Thank you very much. And we'll take your call about any subject you want to talk about for the next 8 minutes or so. Give me a jingle, and we'll talk about it. I don't know if you made any New Year's resolutions. I did not, with the exception of one. As I started to say at the beginning of the last hour, that 2017 marks the 22nd year that we have had this program on the air in some form or another, and now going into year 23. And my lovely bride and I, there were opportunities and conversations about maybe retiring at the end of this last year and kind of hanging up our microphone, so to speak. But there were so many people, especially our friends and so many advertisers, that said, wait a minute, reconsider. And so Deanna and I sat down, and here we are. We're going to give her another go, and we're going to try to present to you the very best in guests, thanks to our many, many contacts all across the United States and Canada, and for that matter, the world, and always try to provide you with the best in different segments, interesting segments. You may not agree with my opinion. A lot don't. But that's okay, because I'm not going to change my ways, and I'm going to keep trying to do the best job I can in bringing you the best of audience invigorating thoughts and ideas. Now, what's going to happen at the end of this month, I'm going to tell you this right now, that Deanna and I are going to take a little bit of a vacation away from the program, and I am blessed to have the absolute lovely ladies, Gina Jameson and Sharon Hardy Mills, are going to take over the program for a small period of time at the end of January. And that doesn't slow us down at all. As a matter of fact, we've done that for the last couple of years, so I'm sure you're aware of it. But we had quite a few different businesses, as I said last hour, contact us and ask about how they could advertise on this program. Well, it's really, really simple. All you have to do is call 312-2976. That number again, 312-2976, and we will give you all the information on how to advertise right here on Zeb at the Ranch. All right, your turn. Give me a call. Can't do it without you and your phone calls. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I want to remind you about Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. I was over there the other day and talked to old Todd. I'll tell you what, 436-4424. That's the number to call. They are very dedicated and responsive to your needs, and you'd better check with them about your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They know, and they can help you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert, 436-4424. All right, your turn. Calls welcome, 436-2244. I hear the dog barking, and Deanne, I'll tell you what, that is probably Dr. History coming in for the next half hour, our first program of Dr. History for 2017, and we'll look forward to what he's got for us here today. I mentioned this town in Vermont. I talked about this earlier this morning, and there are a lot of towns that feel the same way these people do. The small towns like Rutland, Vermont, they told the mayor, no, we don't want any of the Syrian refugees coming to our town. No, we do not want 100 of them coming to our small town. No, we do not want to bear the cost of having these people here. No. The mayor, Christopher Louris, defended his decision, saying the town's demographics are declining, whatever that means. And the town of Rutland, Vermont, they're having trouble recruiting younger workers. Well, not so, according to the people that live there. And he, the mayor, also thinks the refugees will bring cultural diversity. Would somebody call me and tell me the benefit of cultural diversity when it tears apart at the fabric of what America is and what America was? America has always been known as a melting pot of people coming in here to adhere to and really embellish the American dream. Why is it that the left in this country is really selling the idea of, well, we need cultural diversity? In other words, we need chaos. And I can never buy that. That's exactly what all of these people coming into our country that we foot the bill for, that's what they're causing, is chaos and negativity. And I, for one, I'm going to stand up right here the third day of this year, 2017, and say enough is enough. CSI with their refugee center, the mayor and city council of Twin Falls, the Times News and others go on record as I did last year. I'm absolutely against any more refugees coming into this area unless we have a much stronger and more, let's see, what's the good word right there? More aiding of American citizens with their vetting process. The vetting process is ridiculous. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Here's what we have coming up next hour. And, of course, Dr. History is standing out in the other room making all kinds of noise that I can hear over the microphone. And he'll be on the air this next half hour. And then at 10:30, we have a dear friend, Dr. John Zmirak. He's going to be talking about the murdering of that Russian ambassador and what this is going to do as a reassessment of Turkey's role in NATO. I mean, he's really got a good story about this, and you don't want to miss it. All of that and more. And by the way, tomorrow on the program, my old buddy Dave Bego comes back, and then we've got a great story tomorrow at 10:30 from the Pacific Legal Foundation with Tony Francois. You don't want to miss that. All of that and more. Wheels, by the way, I hope you had a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'm so glad you're running the board for this next year. God bless you, and I hope all goes well.
Well, thank you, sir, and I really did, and I hope you guys had some fun with your family as well.
Now, when you roll out of work this morning at 11:05, be sure you don't get lost in a snowbank.
I will definitely do that, and I forgot my tire change this morning, by the way.
Be careful out there. Hey, I'm going to send it back over to you for the news from CBS, and I'll be back in 6 minutes. Thanks. And with that music, It means we're back, and we're back. And Zeb at the Ranch on this is Tuesday, but I don't know about you, Dr. History, but I keep saying and wanting to say Monday. Doesn't it feel like that? Yeah, okay, well, hang on. Don't get nervous. I'll get you on the air in just a minute. But welcome back, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. You can hear him breathing into the microphone, and that is my guest and co-host for this next segment, Dr. History. A little drum roll there, please. And brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Zach called earlier this morning, as a matter of fact. Good old boy and the rest of the crew at Minnecasia Sales. Happy New Year, Doctor.
And birthday, don't forget.
Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, it was really nice of the convalescent home to wheel him in here in his gurney this morning, and he's strapped down to his bed with the side rails because he celebrated a birthday last weekend. He is now the antique number 67.
And I don't feel a day over 66.
Smart aleck. And then he had to say, well, I'll never catch up with you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Had a great week.
By the way, thank you for the Christmas gift.
Oh, you're welcome.
That was very nice of you.
Thank you. And I got to say that zucchini bread your wife made, ooh, yeah.
Let me tell you something.
I didn't share that with anybody. I ate the whole thing.
People have walked across the desert. They have led camels to water to get to that zucchini bread.
Oh, yeah. That was good stuff.
Yeah. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, we're going to talk about a guy who was an explorer named John C. Fremont.
Oh, I know him.
So a lot of people have heard of this guy.
Sure.
So we're going to just kind of go through his. Now, I'm going to show you a picture here, Zeb.
Okay. I'm sure. We'll hold it up to all the folks.
Okay, so everybody, I'll put it in front of the microphone.
John Fremont's the one over by your thumb.
And this is Kit Carson.
Boy, he was an ugly son of a gun.
John or Kit?
Well, yeah, both of them looked like they could have sung with the what is it, Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones.
Well, anyway, so their lives came together at a certain point. But anyway, we're going to talk about him and his exploring.
Fremont.
Yeah, John C. Fremont.
Okay.
So between 1842 and 1853, Fremont actually led 5 different parties across most of the West. And those journeys covered more territory than anyone else of his time. Now, the historians kind of argue about the true value of his work, and yet you can't diminish it. I mean,
was he hired by the government?
In some cases, yeah.
I see.
So, but maybe the record keeping wasn't as good
as... Did Obama have something to do with that, too?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But, not like Lewis and Clark that kept accurate journals. So, but anyway, he was kind of an opportunist. His native charm, if you want to call it that, his success actually as a mathematician brought him to the attention of several leading Charleston citizens. So they used their influence to get Fremont an appointment with the United States Topographical Corps, responsible for Western exploration.
This first program of 2017 to say that again fast 5 times.
So here we go. Now, Fremont actually began his career in the Navy.
Really?
Yeah. And now, back in those days, the Navy had to be a rough place to...
Yeah, it was a canoe.
Oh, man. I would not have wanted to have been on one of those ships. But
really? He was in the Navy?
Yeah, but he says that sea life did not suit him. And I just imagine being out in the storm and I'd be so sick.
I have a book someplace on that shelf. It's a fictional novel, but it goes back into history as to what it was like to live on a ship with the spoiled food and everything.
Yeah. But anyway, see, he really wanted to be an explorer on land, not on the sea. So anyway, he was hired to aid an Army survey team in 1836 and spent the winter in the Carolina woods, which was close to where he was actually born. Yeah. Now, with the help of a guy named Joel Poinsett, best known for the poinsettia flowers he brought from Mexico in 1820s. I'll bet you didn't know that.
You're teaching me every time you're on this program. I just open my mind.
And some of it's true. So, Fremont became acquainted with a guy named Joseph Nicollet, and he was a well-known explorer, even though I haven't heard of him.
Well, I have, because up in Wisconsin and along the St. Lawrence Seaway, Nicollet and the fur traders, they were big into exploring like Wisconsin, Minnesota, up in that area.
Okay.
So I do know about him.
So anyway, he hired...
if it's the same guy.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. He was hired to help with the mapping of the West, and Fremont went along and found, as he put it, the path which I was destined to walk. So he found his mission in life, I guess.
See.
But anyway, 2 trips with Nicollet taught Fremont a lot of skills and had a lasting influence on his life. As a result of his explorations with Nicollet, Fremont met and was befriended by a guy by the name of Senator Thomas Benton. Now, he's going to come out in the story a little more here.
Okay, I think I've heard about this guy. Yeah.
But he was a powerful man and a real advocate of the American expansion.
Right.
That was a huge thing back then. And, anyway, Fremont often visited Benton's home, and there he met and fell madly in love with Benton's 16-year-old daughter, Jessie.
And they arrested him the day after.
11 years younger than Fremont.
16?
Yeah. But, back then, they married at 15, 16, 17.
There were 14-year-old and 12-year-old brides and everything, but that doesn't make it right.
I know. Anyway, Jessie had a lot of other guys after her, and her mother determined that she must do better than a poor wandering army man.
Some things never change.
She did not think much of John C. Fremont.
I see.
Anyway, despite a 6-month absence on another exploration of the Des Moines River, arranged by Benton, the determined couple eloped in October of 1841.
You imagine how many years he'd get in prison today for that?
So, by now she's probably 17.
Oh, my.
Anyway, so Benton's anger over the marriage soon dissipated, and in 1842, Benton sent Fremont on his first major assignment to survey the Platte and
So
Kansas
he's the
rivers.
father-in-law.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, maybe he was sending him with hope he may not come back.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
But anyway, Fremont managed to embellish the assignment to include finding a route through the Rockies through South Pass. And that was a huge accomplishment. But anyway, Fremont took along with him Benton's 12-year-old son as proof that even a child could journey west.
12 years old.
So would you like to be doing that and be responsible for a 12-year-old?
No.
It would depend on the 12-year-old.
Yeah.
But anyway, on this eventful trip, Fremont hired Kit Carson.
Yeah.
This is where they came together.
Okay.
For $100 a month to be his guide, and they became great friends, lifelong friends. Anyway, now this might be a good spot to take a break if you'd like, Zeb.
Okay, I just hate to break the excitement, but thank you. Right now, don't forget Mini-Cash Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. Zach called earlier this morning. Folks, I'm telling you, whether it's carpet or whether it's your upgrading of your windows with the Western windows to keep that cold air outside and keep the warm temps inside, or whether it's lumber packages, your shingles, whatever, just get a hold of them today. Super great, folks, and Zach can help line up a contractor for all the installation work at Mini-Cash Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. Number to call, please do, 878-2091. Mini-Cash Sales bringing you Dr. History. And now back to the story of John Fremont marrying a 16-year-old girl, being sent out west by his father-in-law, and dragging along a 12-year-old boy. What a story!
Now, Fremont thought the trip was going to be too easy, okay? So he decided to shoot some rapids in a new inflatable rubber raft.
They had rubber rafts back then?
They
How'd
did.
they inflate them?
Bellows.
You're kidding me.
But
I didn't even know they had rubber. What year was this?
This was like 1836, 1840, somewhere in there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I told a story a few years ago about some guys that had some rubber rafts too, and they weren't too dependable.
Well, really?
So anyway, he decided to shoot these rapids. Well, the result was the loss of valuable equipment and journals. The occupants nearly drowned as well. The camera that Fremont lost on that foolhardy escapade could have made him the first man to photograph the West.
Wait a minute, wait. What year was this?
1842, actually.
I did not know they even had a camera back then.
Yeah.
You're a plethora of information this morning.
But, anyway, so he lost the camera. He could have taken pictures.
It was a Kodak moment.
Kodak, it was. Yeah. But later on, the same trip, Fremont saw a mountain that he recklessly said was the tallest peak in the Rockies. Now, poorly equipped, Fremont made the climb to the top of this peak, and after going without 2 meals and a night's sleep, he raised an American flag while his men shot their guns and drank brandy.
That's a good crew. They understood the problem.
Anyway, okay, so he finally returns to St. Louis and his wife, and he found Jesse actually confined to bed with their first child. Now, with all this natural drama, he draped the flag he had raised on that peak on Jesse's bed, exclaiming, "This flag was raised over the highest peak in the Rocky Mountains. I have brought it to you." Well, the mountain was definitely not the tallest.
Oh.
It just happened to be one he came across.
But it was a good thought.
It was. So Fremont knew that his success was greatly determined by Congress's funding. Yeah. So he lacked the disposition to sit still long enough to write to him. So he dictated reports, and his wife wrote these things down. So she actually became kind of the author of his success.
His secretary.
Yeah. And by writing his story so well, they actually sold like today's best-selling novels.
You're kidding.
So I kind of think she may have embellished a little bit.
You wouldn't think she'd do that about her husband.
No. So anyway, Fremont's report served as a guide for future travelers.
Would you like your wife keeping a diary on what you did?
Well, maybe not. Anyway, so they planned a second trip, and on that occasion, he was to go from the ending point of his first journey on the Colorado to the Gulf of California.
Oh, my.
So heading more south.
Yeah.
Okay. Then northwest, he would then come east by the Oregon Trail. Clear back up the California-Oregon coast.
So he came up to Idaho.
Yeah. And he's supposed to gather data along the way that would actually help with the construction of forts. They wanted to have a chain of forts along, of course, the Oregon Trail and other trails.
So he's going east on the Oregon Trail.
Yes.
One of the first people or groups to do that.
Right. Yeah.
And by that time, the Oregon Trail was only about a year or two old, wasn't it?
Right. So in 1843, Fremont and Kit Carson headed west with this new party, and it was on this trip that Fremont named the Great Basin when he first saw the Great Salt Lake. So he, along with Jim Bridger and some of those others, was one of the first ones to see that. So in a leaky boat that had to be constantly pumped out with bellows so it wouldn't sink, Fremont explored the Great Salt Lake.
Really?
And he became convinced that a rumored whirlpool did not exist in the middle of the lake. The whirlpool was supposed to create an outlet to the ocean.
Oh, wait a minute. There was a rumor that the Salt Lake
had a whirlpool
in the middle. It wasn't a Maytag, it was a whirlpool. And it would go to the ocean if you got sucked into that whirlpool.
You'd be sucked in and spit out in the Pacific.
Who started that?
That's a good question. Anyway, later Fremont described the Great Basin and the Salt Lake Valley, in particular to Brigham Young, which started that.
Yeah.
But anyway, Fremont and his men marched onto the Columbia River from the Great Salt Lake, and so going west. But this exploration of the Columbia was the main reason for his trip. And Fremont and his men mapped, then determined the height of Mount St. Helens, Mount Rainier.
Oh, they went up there.
Mount Hood. Yeah, they did get up there.
Wow.
And they collected ash from Mount St. Helens, which they actually saw Mount St. Helens erupt.
Well, so did we.
Yeah, but not in a good way.
No.
So anyway, there was a group that canoed to Fort Vancouver where the journey ended, but Fremont wasn't through. Apparently, he wanted to make a grand sweep through some of Nevada, California, Utah, New Mexico, and so...
How long did all this take?
Well, they started in 1842. Now we get clear over to 1845, so it was a few years.
His home life with little old Jessie wasn't very good.
Not so good.
Yeah.
But anyway...
She's 90 years old now, by the way.
So... As they headed south in late January, they were deep in the Sierra Nevadas in January.
That's not good.
And he crossed despite Indian warnings to the contrary, and without Kit Carson's skill, the group would have never made it.
Really?
I mean, Kit Carson saved their bacon.
Really?
Basically.
They didn't have any bacon.
He didn't, no.
Yeah.
But it was 45 days later they arrived at John Sutter's Fort on the American River through the Sacramento and San Joaquin valleys, across the Mojave Desert, and then they went on their way east. So they kind of made a loop which
where did they come off? Was it basically the same trail, if you will, from going over through Reno and that type of thing?
I think that has to be it, through by Lake Tahoe and that area.
Okay.
But anyway, so they headed on back and got back to Independence. So his reunion with Jesse was a joyous one. She had feared he was dead. You know, he's been gone a long time. And a lot of those guys never did come back.
Didn't have a cell phone.
No. Anyway, so his next report began, and Jesse, his wife, served as his editor, creating a 600-page report that became a true bestseller.
Really?
And the media said Fremont was a national hero, a Columbus of the American West.
Oh, my.
Fremont preferred being called the Pathfinder.
The Pathfinder.
That sounds a lot better than the Columbus.
From the big house out back to the little house.
So anyway, President James K. Polk was sending Fremont west one more time.
Oh, my gosh.
Fremont was to explore the area between the Arkansas and the Red Rivers.
Poor little Jesse.
Yeah. So now we're in 1845.
Okay.
So we've gone a few years.
Yeah, we have.
Anyway, Fremont brought his men into California, and
Now, he started in Missouri again?
Yeah, back in Independence.
And did they travel primarily on the rivers or the trails?
You know, I've got I'm going to show you a map here in a minute.
Oh, okay.
I'll show you where they went.
Okay.
But anyway, Fremont set up his base of operations at Sutter's Fort, which was close to Sacramento.
Yep.
With more than 200 men, Fremont marched to help settlers he heard were being attacked by Mexican soldiers. And as Fremont rallied the soldiers and settlers, news reached them that the United States had declared war on Mexico.
Uh-oh.
So now we're in that Mexican-American war.
Bad deal.
Yeah. Anyway, he led his men in a series of successful battles and captured enemy supplies, and it was a triumphant day when he led his men into Los Angeles after having accepted the surrender of Mexican troops just outside the city.
How old was he?
Well, he was 27. Now you ask me to do math.
I know.
He was 27.
I shouldn't have broke the ice.
I'm going to guess close to 40.
Okay, and Jesse just turned 19.
It's 20 somewhere. Okay. So here he is. He refuses to side with a General Stephen Kearny, who was Commander-in-Chief of California. So he had a rift with the cavalry. Okay.
Yeah.
And he was court-martialed and convicted of mutiny, disobedience, and conduct unbecoming an officer.
Wasn't it General Kearny, or Kearny, however you want to say that, wasn't he the general that reestablished up in Wyoming?
No, I thought the same thing, but that was Phil Kearny.
Oh.
This is Stephen Kearny, which may be a relative.
I see.
I don't know. But anyway, President Polk remitted the penalties, but the conviction stood, and Fremont's work kind of set a precedent for mapping the West. He had a huge influence with his map, and anyway, he covered probably more territory than Lewis and Clark.
Does it amaze you with the lack of real scientific-based equipment, how they could map and be so close?
Right, and for others to follow their maps and know where they're going, what mountains, rivers, streams.
Turn left at the next beaver pond.
Yeah. So
or beaver.
Anyway, despite his troubles, his California years were rich, literally and figuratively. Fremont's miners struck gold. Jessie said that at one point her cupboards were full of bags of gold ore, each valued at $25,000.
Wow.
Okay? Fremont.
That was in the house?
Yeah.
Where else are you going to keep gold, for heaven's sake? You don't want to put it in a bank.
You're not going to put it outside.
No.
Well, anyway, Fremont did not get his fields properly surveyed, however, and the result was a significant amount of claim jumping on his property. And that happened a lot. If you didn't have the right claims, with the government or whatever, anybody could just come.
Which I never understood how they did all that.
I don't either, because, again, how do you describe a place and say, okay, this is my mine?
Yeah. Really?
Anyway, now here's something. Fremont ran for president of the United States.
I didn't know
He
that.
traveled to Europe to sell stock in his mines to the British. He also served as a leader of the Union Army during the Civil War. But business failures reduced the Pathfinder to the state of a poor pensioner at the end of his life.
With all that gold in his cupboards?
Yeah. And
You're
running
kidding?
for president.
What'd they do with it all?
That's a good question. But anyway, he was not a great scientist. Fremont kind of romanticized the West more than anyone previously had with the help of his wife. Her storytelling, her gifted ability to write.
Yeah.
But there was still some genuine scientific contributions and mapping that went on. Now, I'm going to show you a map here, Zeb.
Okay.
And you can
Holy
see,
buckets.
Okay, here's in St. Louis.
Yeah, St. Louis.
Independence.
Yeah.
Now, here's where Lewis and Clark went north, up along the Missouri, clear over. And then you've got Bonneville, who came up this way, up to Fort Boise, right past us.
Yeah.
And then you've got
a motel room there in Boise, right there by Vista Boulevard.
Now, Zebulon Pike.
Yeah, my distant relative.
Your distant relative.
Yeah.
Got lost several times.
Figures. It runs in the family.
He discovered Pikes Peak.
Yeah. He didn't know he did, though.
But he didn't know he did. He led his men back.
My great-uncle Zebulon actually was looking for the outhouse behind the big house. He followed the trail.
His is kind of a funny story because he was not. He got lost.
He wasn't a real bright guy.
No, he wasn't. No. But you can see.
Don't say it. It doesn't run in the family. Okay.
And so right here you can see these lines are clear over where Fremont went. Clear over.
He took the more arid route.
Yeah, through
Arizona,
Colorado, Nevada, Utah, clear up the Mojave Desert, clear up along the west coast, clear up here to Fort Vancouver, and then back down along where we are.
What did they? What would be interesting on a future program is what did they, like Fremont's group, what did they take for supplies? I mean, really, the packing, the food, the tools, the ammunition, the guns. I mean, you had to really pack smart.
You did, and especially, I'm looking at this Mojave Desert.
Oh, yeah.
And through Salt Lake, through the desert there, and they had to have the right food. They had to have something so they didn't get scurvy.
You know what we ought to do on future programs is, you mentioned the cameras earlier and the inflatable rafts and everything. What we ought to do is, and you are the man that's going to take care of this, do a little study as to when these things were invented. That would be interesting. Yeah. I did not know they had cameras and inflatable rafts back then.
There was somebody, and I can't remember who it was, if it was Pike or somebody else, that had a couple of rubber rafts too, and they
but he didn't need them up on Pikes Peak.
He didn't, but I'll have to research that.
He thought he was going to the water.
I guess. Anyway, that's John C. Fremont really was an amazing explorer.
I did not know that, but I'm a little bit concerned about Jesse.
Well,
poor Jesse. And how many children did they have?
It doesn't say. I don't know.
Really?
But, it's a poor story that can't be improved on a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And so I think Jesse did that very well.
Well, she probably embellished it a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
anyway.
But that's a good story. I did not know all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then, you've done stories on Kit Carson, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, anyway, so we'll do some research on that.
Let's do some research on the rubber raft and the bellows and the camera. I mean, that would be an interesting program in itself when these things were invented.
Right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I know there was, I think, was it Ansel Adams that was one of those that, or was he more our time?
I'm not sure, but I think Mr. Kodak was one of the first people with the camera, so maybe we could start our research there.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
Right. Hey, Doc, great program.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it. Don't get lost on the trail.
I won't.
Okay. Dr. History brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Zach and the crew, 878-2091. Remember, they sponsor Dr. History every Tuesday, Minnecasia Sales. By the way, don't forget, too, on Thursdays, we've got a great segment with our friends at both A Child's World and Ambulatory Surgery Center. First of all, at A Child's World, all the clothing, all the warm clothing, all the toys, the puzzles, the games, everything for you at A Child's World. 1308 Overland in Burley. And also Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley for your outpatient surgeries like colonoscopies, etc. They can help you and they can save you money. Remember, Ambulatory Surgery Center, 677-8888. And A Child's World in Burley. bringing you School Days in Cassia County at 10:10 on Thursdays. And right now over to Wheels at our main studio.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to our last segment. And on a snowy, cold Tuesday, January the 3rd, with me on the phone right now is a gentleman that has been on my program many, many times, and he wrote a very interesting article entitled, "Could Murder of Russian Ambassador Lead to a Reassessment of Turkey's Role in NATO?" Good morning to John Zamirak. John, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
You know, John, you have written some outstanding articles and some very thought-provoking articles. Even the dog likes it in the background. And give us a little basis about this article about the Russian ambassador. Go ahead, please.
The Russian ambassador?
Yes.
To Turkey. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. That was a couple of weeks ago. I was writing about just how unstable and is connected with Islamism the government of Turkey has become. Mm-hmm. Turkey had been a fairly reliable ally of the U.S., and it was run by a secular military government during the Cold War. And if you want a secular government in the Muslim world that respects the rights of religious minorities, you pretty much need a military government like they have in Egypt, which does not have democratic elections, because the majority supports Islamist intolerant policies. So what's happened since the 90s is that Turkey has become, quote, democratic, by which it means it's taken over by Islamists. That they won't let Christians build churches. They're cracking down on secular journalists. They're forcing women to wear the hijab and other Islamic clothes. And it's just generally going back centuries going back toward this Ottoman past. Its president, Erdogan, is actually dressing up his palace guards like Ottoman guards. Now, if you know your history, the Ottomans were the ones who savagely repressed half of Europe. Turkey, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, Serbia, Macedonia. They were all brutally repressed by the Ottoman Empire, which would kidnap, periodically every few years, they would kidnap hundreds, even thousands of Christian children and make them and raise them as Muslims as palace guards, the famous janissaries. So what Erdogan is doing is looking back to the Islamist intolerant past of Turkey. He was involved in transporting all those Syrian migrants, supposedly refugees. They were safe in Turkey. He dumped them on Europe, more than 1 million. Now he's threatening to send 2 or 3 million more into Europe if Europe doesn't meet his demands to let Turkey into the European Union. This is a profound threat to Western heritage and to just the survival of those European countries. So I don't think Turkey belongs as a member of NATO. And it's really scary to me when I see confrontations threatened between Turkey and Russia.
Yeah.
Because we would be obligated by treaty to fight against Russia in defense of Turkey, this country that is flooding Europe with ISIS operatives, that is helping the radical al-Qaeda factions try to take power in Syria. I just think we need to completely re-examine Turkey's role and our relations with it. I think Turkey is a far greater threat to us than Russia will ever be.
You know, and I agree with you, but, you know, you posed the thought in my mind that Russia, of course, to many on the scope of the news in our country, whether it's the Schumers or the Obamas or the Hillary Clintons or whatever, oh, the Russians are bad, they're our number one enemy, etc. But you know what? Had this been an ambassador of ours that had been shot in the back of the head by an Islamic militant, I dare say that hopefully our country would want to get to the bottom of it and punish those in charge. You can't blame Russia for wanting to do the same thing, can you?
No, you can't. And it's interesting that Russia seems to have taken a kind of a low-key approach to this. I think what they're doing is they're getting concessions out of Turkey. I think the Russians have seen that first the Obama administration, but also important Republicans like McCain and Graham want a permanent confrontation between the U.S. and Russia. And what Russia, I think, will do if that happens, and I think that would be really foolish of us to do that, I think Russia then will try to hook up with Turkey. And you'll see the Russians, the Turks together against us.
Yeah.
It would be much better if we were aligned with the Russians against the Turks and the Saudi Arabians. We need to see that countries like Saudi Arabia, which we claim to be our allies, these are repressive, brutal dictatorships. Christianity is completely illegal in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
We can't even have a Bible or a cross or a religious service inside a foreign embassy, which is technically foreign soil. These are among the most repressive countries on earth, far worse than anything that goes on in Russia. But the media, the parts of the media that have an interest in whipping up a confrontation with Russia, especially the neocons, people like Lindsey Graham and John McCain, they constantly emphasize everything that's wrong with Russia, and they never talk about what China does.
Yeah.
What all these African countries do. It's fine to overlook their human rights abuses, but when Russia does something much less serious, we have to hype it up and treat it like it's the Soviet Union all over again.
Let me ask you this, John. The last couple of days I've taken off this program for a brief vacation, but it's given me an opportunity to really sit down and study what's going on in the news with the blaming of Russia for the leaks about Hillary and the Democrats, etc. But wait a minute. Why in the world is everybody so quick to point the finger at Russia and blame them with the possibility of destroying the likes of the Cold War and turning up the temperature to where it might become far more serious? Why is the left, and the Democrats in particular, why are they trying to do this?
Well, it's just another scapegoat. First, they were blaming the FBI, and then they were claiming that there was voter fraud, that the voting machines had been hacked. And when all of that was discredited, now they're saying that the Russians influenced the election by turning up entirely truthful scandals about the Clinton campaign. As far as I'm concerned, this is like Watergate. Watergate was information just damaging to the Republicans that an FBI agent illegally leaked to the Washington Post.
Right.
That was an illegal leak of sensitive information that changed the course of politics in America. Are we going to say that it would have been better if Watergate had never been exposed? This is the same thing. But I don't know who was behind the WikiLeaks, and I don't care. It really doesn't matter. This was truthful information that was extremely alarming. Let's remember what was in the WikiLeaks. The fact that Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation had taken tens of millions of dollars from Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Qatar was the main financial sponsor of ISIS. What did that mean for our future? What would that have meant for American security, the fact that the president was in the pocket of these Islamist dictatorships? What about the vicious anti-Catholicism inside the Clinton campaign? The fact that John Podesta was going to use government resources and Democratic Party resources to set up front groups that would infiltrate and try to destroy the Catholic Church. Let's stay focused on what the WikiLeaks said. That was important information, and I'm glad American voters had it. And I don't think the Russians did it. But if they did, hey, I'll buy them a pierogi.
You know, let me ask you this, John, and I'm kind of jumping around on subject matter here a little bit, but I always appreciate the time you spend on our program. I read a story the other day that was put out by the Washington Post, and the headline was, Minority Students at University of Maryland issue 64 demands. They're demanding that the Board of Regents change and do things the way they want, and part of their demands are to become much more pro-Muslim and pro-Palestinian. This really scares me because this is a major university that is absolutely turning their back on Israel and giving all their support to Palestine and, of course, anything connected with the Muslims and what they're doing in this country. What are your thoughts about this?
I think the Maryland legislature should threaten to defund the university to the degree that it does this. We can't allow our public universities to be captured by radical ideologues. It's extremely dangerous. It's actually a national security threat. Already, excuse me, virtually all the Middle Eastern studies programs in the country are funded by foreign governments. Places like princes in Saudi Arabia who fund the the Middle Eastern studies programs at places like Georgetown, which means that they reliably churn out people who will just repeat the talking points of these foreign governments that are hostile to America, hostile to Christians, hostile to religious freedom, and hostile to Israel. George Washington University is one of the worst of them. That's where Huma Abedin went as an undergraduate, where she was involved in the Muslim Students Association. That's connected to the Muslim Brotherhood. And 2 years after she graduated, her chapter at George Washington University, they hired as its chaplain this guy Anwar al-Awlaki, who later was killed by a U.S. drone strike because he was one of al-Qaeda's primary trainers for suicide bombers. These Muslim organizations, very few of them are more than one step of association away from actual terrorists or the funders of terrorists. So I think the Maryland legislature had better make those university officials hold firm. It would be better to defund the university and let it gradually collapse and feel the economic pain if it gives into this kind of ideological terrorism.
John, you're a very well-educated man, and I want you to explain something to me quickly this morning. One of the demands from these minority students at the University of Maryland was to provide scholarships for marginalized students. I've graduated from college. I have a degree, but would you care to explain to me what the word and terminology marginalized students means and who's going to get the money?
It's a completely political term. It's completely arbitrary. They're not saying economically disadvantaged. They're not saying victims of actual racism. They're using the term marginalized, which is a catch-all term. It can be used to throw anything you want in there. So it could be people who claim to be transgendered. It could be people who are anorexic. It can be people who are Muslim. The one thing it won't be is religious Christians. That's a group that by definition can't be considered marginalized, even when it's being actively persecuted by the government.
Well, you know, another part of this is, of course, what's happening now with the incumbent president, Trump, with his I think he's chosen very wisely for his cabinet. And with 16 days to go with the Obama administration, what are your thoughts about the conversion on the 20th to a new administration of people that I find to be very reliable and trustful? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm very pleasantly surprised by what a good team Trump is putting together. I was one of those critics. I supported Ted Cruz up till the end, and I rather reluctantly backed Trump as much better than Hillary. But I've been very impressed, and I'm kind of chagrined that I was so pessimistic. I think he's putting together a good team. He's listening to sound, solid people. I hope that he holds firm on immigration and security issues, and also that he keeps his promises on appointing pro-life judges to the courts. But if he does those things, I think he's going to be a very successful president. And he's driving the left to insane outrages, to crazy excesses, to self-destructive extremism, kind of the way Nixon taunted the left back in the 60s. So my hope is that Trump will hold firm to his promises, appoint a good professional team, and continue to be thick-skinned about these hysterical media attacks, because they didn't stop him in the primaries. They didn't stop him in the general election. What makes them think it's going to stop them now?
Yeah.
Now that he's won.
Let me ask you this final question, and you mentioned the first 100 days of his being in office as president, which takes us roughly into about the first part of April, etc. What would you, John Zmirak, expect and want to see him accomplish in that first 100 days? What is the most important list, if you will, that you'd like to see accomplished?
I would like to see him sign the First Amendment Defense Act, which he promised to sign, which protects Christian business owners from government prosecution if they follow their conscience on questions of marriage. I would like to see him entirely defund Planned Parenthood and launch a federal investigation into their illegal sales of baby parts for profit. I would like to see him begin construction of the border wall with Mexico and move legislation to make E-Verify mandatory for every business above 10 employees in America. Also start tracking the visas of people who enter the country, and if they overstay their visas, quickly locate them and remove them from the country. Reverse all of Obama's illegal and unconstitutional executive orders on immigration, on health care, and get moving on overturning Obamacare.
Absolutely.
That's quite a tall order, but if he did that, I think he would keep faith with the voters who put him in office.
Absolutely. Dr. John Zmirak, a good friend of this program. I wish you and your family a very happy New Year. Please come back soon. God bless. Thank you.
Same to you.
Thank you very much. Always enjoy having him on my program, Dr. John Zmirak, a very interesting gentleman, very well versed in what's going on around the United States and the world today. Oh my goodness, we've got to get a weather forecast in here, and the weather, first time I get a chance to brag about Don Scarrow and Scarrow's Meats for 2017. Weather brought to you by Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, the number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way that we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Oh, the delicious meats. Please, please, please do yourself a favor. Check out those marinated prime ribs. Knock your socks off. Delicious. Oh, my. All of this and so much more at Scarrow's Meats in Jerome. And right now, here's the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we saddle up and ride again for the weekend. We are expecting snow showers off and on throughout the day. We are expecting 1 inch of snow throughout the daytime hours, but through this evening, anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of snow. We are expecting a little bit of wind as well out of the northeast, right around 10 miles an hour. Going to have a high of 28 for today, tonight low of 20. For tomorrow, more snow showers are expected within the forecast. Winds are going to be picking up to about 15 miles an hour. Accumulations 3 to 5 inches for tomorrow. Expecting a high of 21, overnight low of 4, and then partly cloudy and 10 degrees for Thursday. That is your weather for Zebeth Ranch.
I appreciate it. And brought to you this hour by Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. Scarrow's Meats, changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. You know, I kind of beat this horse to death this morning on this University of Maryland, but some of the goofy things that these students are, these are students, like John Zmirak was just talking about. Where's the Board of Regents? Where's the backbone of the university saying, no, go be a student. We will provide the learning. We will provide the classes. We will provide the professors. We will provide the best for you. Learn. Be a learner. We are the teachers. But the Board of Regents is kowtowing to these people. They want so many things like, let's see, I'll give you a couple of more that, and if one university does it, oh boy, you can bet there's going to be a lot that are going to go in lockstep with the University of Maryland. They want, and listen to this one, they want an acknowledgement. Listen to this. They want an acknowledgement during every campus event. Basketball games, football games, any event on campus, that it has to be announced that this is indigenous land, along with the efforts to officially recognize the tribe or nation whose land upon which the University of Maryland is built. So in other words, what they want at any football game with the Terrapins, or basketball game, or whatever it might be, the announcer has to get up and say, oh, by the way, this land that the University of Maryland sits upon is actually not our land. It belongs to the Iroquois or whatever Indians. Ridiculous. When in the world are we going to stop looking into the past and expecting to see the future? It ain't going to happen, Homer. And I am so appalled that this generation today, the millennials that we talked about earlier this morning, they want to revert to the past, the Obama administration. And, of course, we've got to pay reparations to the blacks that came here 250 years ago. No, we don't. I had nothing to do with it, neither did you. And now, reverting like this, we must acknowledge at every campus event, this isn't our land, it belongs to such and such a tribe that we took it from. Unbelievable. And they want to make sure that they have a shuttle service. This blows my mind. They have a shuttle service free of charge for Muslim students to leave campus and go to campus, and Muslim students will have access to a place of worship and participate in many activities that the university hosts, free of charge. Why? No Christians, no Jews, nothing, but we're sure catering to the Muslims. I'm not, I won't. And this idiocy, it goes on and on with all their demands. I mean, they want, this one really got to me. They want a consequence laid out in writing to anybody that uses their speech to denigrate another group or something political in this country. In other words, they want to stymie free speech. And they want a written consequence by the college, the university in this case, how they're going to be reprimanded and how they're going to be punished. What? Our First Amendment is dying. I'll talk more about this tomorrow. Anyway, I want to remind you about our major sponsor. They've got all your traction tires. Do not wait, my friends, out there in Snowland, because we're going to be getting snow today and tomorrow. The best of snow and ice tires at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Oh, my goodness. They've got the Himalaya SUV tires, the Observe. They've got the Winter Cat. They've got them all for you. All you have to do is stop in and see them today. They got all the tire chains. They've got all the best in batteries. By the way, as cold as it's going to get on, I think Gina said Thursday, 10 above for a high. Check your battery. If it's not going to start that four-wheeled wonder, you better check on getting a new one at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy, the old Seahawk fan, on Overland and Burley. And they can help you. They will help you. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Thank you for making the first day back on the air a good one. I mean, I was a little tentative because I didn't want to forget how to dot the I's and cross the T's. Thank you very much for all your calls, and we'll be back here again tomorrow morning at 8:06, and look forward to guests like Dave Bego back in Indianapolis, Indiana. We've got some guests with the Pacific Legal Foundation. Got a good program tomorrow, so tune in at 8:06. We'll ride the horse till about 11 o'clock right here on KBAR 1230, and then streaming live on ZebBell.com all over the universe. Until then, the way things were, the way things ought to be. We'll see you tomorrow morning.